So you came out here in 2007.
Yeah,
That's before the last crash.
right before the last.
And that was
crash.
your Y07.
So I married. So I was like having my beautiful life in Prague, right?
Yeah.
We had just started in an office with my partner. We both worked for different companies and had side gigs together, interior here, interior there. And then at one point we had so much that we were like, why are we doing this? Like, why are we like living this life with no social life? So we decided to quit our jobs and start our company. We were working out from his parents' paint shop. They had a little office, so we moved in there and we were working out of there. But I'm married an American. An American wanted to go back to America to try because he was a journalist for 13 years in Europe. And he was like, I want to go back. There's nothing to do, which was true. He already published all the magazines he wrote for. Now he's having a really chilled life. He was like, I just want something more. I need something more to just for my career. So the idea was to move here for 2 years, have him try in Hollywood as a screenwriter because he was doing that already. And then if it doesn't work out, we go back home and continue to live our really nice life in Prague. We have an apartment in a really great area. Healthcare is for free. Education is for free. I didn't pay my education in Prague at all, although I'm not a citizen. We had an office. Like Prague is like really like small town, but it's everybody. It's in the center of Europe. You're in Paris in an hour, in Stockholm in 2 hours, in Istanbul in 3 hours. Everything is there. But we came here just before the crash. We didn't know the crash is going to happen because we came in December 2007. I started looking for a job in March, right? I got like 4 offers out of 4 interviews. Luckily, I choose the work that kind of was in alignment with my career. I was supposed to be a project architect for a small office building. The client is super wealthy. It was for Indian paintbrush production, and they do Wes Anderson movies. So I like the whole like thing. I'm gonna run my own project. It's big enough where I can take care of it on my own with maybe some help from the people. So I chose that job, and the crash happened 3 months later, where 30% of people in architecture lost their jobs.
Did you retain it?
Yes.
And your projects you were working on?
Yeah, I was the project. Like they didn't fire me. The company had a couple of small projects like mine, and they had the theater projects. So most of the office worked on theater projects, and those projects were already funded because they're huge and they're funded like 15 years ago. And now they're working on it. And a bunch of us, like 2 or 3 of us in the office that had smaller projects, they were like really wealthy people. So does it help? Any crash kind of doesn't affect. Like when I saw budgets for his building and I went to Force Bliss and checked out how much he made that year, it was like me going for lunch for $50 or something.
What was the budget on that?
It was $5 million at that time. That was 15 years ago. We went over the budget, of course. For now, that would be nothing. Are you kidding me? You can't do anything for $5 million. But at that time, it was a nice budget. It was a nice budget. I drew the whole thing. I did the permits. I did the whole construction site. I was there like every day almost, or not every day, like once a week. But if there was something, I was resolving stuff daily in the office. That was the only thing I was working on.
And that was your first project in the States?
That was my first project in the States, yeah.
Do you remember when the market, like Lehman Brothers, everything?
Yeah.
What was the moment that you recall where you felt, oh shit?
I do, but also when it comes to my work a lot on intuition. So any decision I make, it's, I guess, a female intuition. It's a Serbian in me, all the witches that came before me, my family. It's like there's a voice that is leading me, right? So I had 4 offers on the table. This was the lowest salary that was offered to me. But I'm like, this is the project I want to do. I'm going to have a reign on this project. I'm not going to be a part of some bigger picture. This is my picture. It was like the voice told me, take this job. This is fine. And it was already shaking. I remember when I landed in US in December and I'm in the valley and I'm walking around and trying to figure out what are the average salaries and all that. And I'm like, this is not making any sense. How these people can have all these houses, these cars, being dressed like this and all that, and have these salaries? Guess what? They couldn't. 6 months later, I found out they couldn't.
You saw it right away. This is not adding up.
This is not 2 and 2, because in Prague, everybody owns the property. People own their cars and so on. But we are really like very like modest. You borrow money only for properties, like nothing else. We don't live on credit. This is your salary. You spend the salary and so on. My parents like never had a credit. Because we were in communist country, you don't have credit. Like, what the heck is credit? So what you have, you pay. My parents built a house without a credit or mortgage or whatever. So I was not used to the whole borrow money and live, there's no tomorrow. And then when I came here, I was like, this is not adding up. I'm supposed to make 70K as an architect. And I'm highly educated, and the average salary is like 40K. Are they having houses of $500,000 and all these new cars, and women are not working because it was the valley, and I don't know, these ladies were like out all the time.
It's the image.
But it was shocking. I was like, how is this possible? This is not adding up. And it's not adding up.
So going back to Serbia, growing up in Serbia in the 90s, Yugoslavia, explain a little bit about that changing tumultuous time.
You can't knock me down because of how I grew up. You grew up in Eastern Europe. First, growing up in communism. Everybody has a job. Everybody works for state companies. Like you have vacations twice a year. You go to seaside. It's actually, when you look back, a very good lifestyle, right? You have property. Everybody's safe. Everybody has a job, health insurance, free education. You're not really hustling much. Nobody's really rich, but everybody's equal.
Happy and coasting along.
I don't remember not going to the seaside every summer. That was a must, or for a winter vacation. You have your work, your apartment, your vacation, your weekends with your friends, when we barbecue. It was like a really safe life. But then in the 90s, the whole country started falling apart. First, Slovenia went away, then you had Croatia, then you had Bosnia. And of course, all of a sudden, wait, I'm not Yugoslavian. What am I? I'm Serbian. What the hell is Serbian? Because I wasn't raised with the identity of being Serb. I was raised with the identity of being Yugoslavian.
Right.
So all of a sudden, wait, what happened? And why are we having wars? I was there in Seaside last year. Chaos started, right?
Yeah.
And now there's inflation. There was a galloping inflation where we were unable to fall. You have to count zeros on the money. It was insane. We had nationalism that showed up with all these wars. Now there's war happening like right around the real border, because whenever there's a war, there's also criminality going up, poverty is happening, the whole system falls apart.
And like in the propaganda, what were they telling you in trying to influence people's thoughts?
I'm seeing it here. It was very divided, right?
Divisive.
But you're like, why are we doing this? Even as a kid, it didn't make sense because it came out of nowhere. And as a kid, you don't understand the news and everything. It was like, why we don't like each other? What is going on? And I think what I'm seeing now here, I see it very similar, just based on, I don't even dare, at least it was a religion and nationality, so you can understand it better. But here it's like, why are we fighting when they're actually taking money from all of our pockets? Why are we defending somebody? I'm seeing some similarities that were happening before our war started.
Like the cycles leading up to
I
it.
mean, people are going to people. Whatever propaganda you're going to feed them, they're going to react emotionally, whatever propaganda you feed. Is it religious, or is it nationality, or is it money, or I don't know, what are we fighting over now?
So right now, what is your intuition telling you?
I don't even want to go there, honestly, because I'm scared to think about where it's going to go. I'm like honestly scared.
Yeah.
I'm honestly scared where this country is going to go. I don't like what's happening. I think this country is in shock. So everybody's
still waiting for the dust to settle.
Yeah, but what does? The dust keeps on happening. Yeah, it keeps on happening.
Yeah.
So that's why I think everybody's waiting for dust to settle, but dust is not settling. Dust
It
is
keeps
dusting.
going. It keeps going.
Yeah. So what happened is like our country fell apart in the 90s. We had hyperinflation. Then we started having dictators, because with nationalism, it's easy to control the mass because you have an enemy. When you have an enemy, you need somebody to help you or unite you to fight it. And Tito was actually pretty chill. He wanted us to have a good life and not make much noise so he can get money from both West and East, because I don't know. He was pretty good, actually manipulating everybody. He took a bunch of money. He lived a very good life. He was like a really good dictator. On a scale of 1 to 10, he was probably like 2 in dictatorship. He was doing his thing, but he wasn't like, some people would end up in jail for talking against him, or on this island that we had in the middle of the Adriatic Sea where he would send people that were pro-Russian. But it was pretty chilled. It wasn't like Czech Republic or Romania or even Bulgaria, where things were pretty rough with their dictators. We were able to travel. We were able to listen to Western music. Your dad didn't.
Yeah, my dad, he was in the army out there.
Yeah.
I don't know how he negotiated himself to get out of service to come to the States. He was telling me how he learned sales in the army with using logistics and the clothes and the officer.
Yeah, that's what we did.
Did you have growing up as a kid or teenage years, bartering and starting businesses and designing?
No, I never was. Like my brother was more of that. I was very nerdy, so mine was like more, I read books, and I was part of arts crew, like arts kids in the city.
Okay, you were in that scene.
Yeah, I was more into that like intellectual scene, like where we see old theater shows and all that. I was doing sets for the guys that were studying to be directors, like on our academy. Some other friends were doing music. We collaborated in that sense. For example, I would do my models for architecture, the guy that does camera, camera on the movie, would take pictures of it. It was very collaborative from the get-go just because we knew each other from the city. That's my brother.
Where was the spark for our architecture design? I know growing up in Eastern Europe, you have so much history and architecture,
Yeah,
rich.
I was very creative,
Yeah.
but I'm also very good at math. Like the way I see the world, it's all geometry. Even now, when I look at you, you have a circle and there is
Symmetry.
symmetry and that corner over there, those lines, everything is like
You
that.
look at the world a different way.
Yeah, I look at the world through texture too. So everything is texture. I'm very aware of how everything feels, like in terms of surface. I'm very sensitive in that
Yeah.
way. And I'm always shocked with how, if my brain doesn't work, I'm always going around, oh my God, that's a tree. It's unbelievable. How is this planet possible? I'm in
Just
constant...
in this state of wow.
Yeah, I'm in constant state
Yeah.
of wow. If I'm not busy, if you let me think about it, I'm like, how did we make this tree? It's amazing.
This country, how old it is and how much it's expanded. And then comparing cities, like what cities do you walk through in the streets where you're like, wow.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah,
Which-
but if I wasn't an architect, I would probably be an infrastructure engineer because I'm in total awe of what's below us, like canalization and water. I think America was interesting because it's very new. Even LA changed so much since I moved here 15 years ago. When I came to LA, I felt it's a village.
Yeah.
I felt it's a village. I came from Europe where we have theater and there are festivals and people dress really well, like they have style. And we
Yeah.
have all these cafes and you have all these intellectual talks. And I come to LA and it's what's going on? Where's the city? Where is the city? Show me the city. And the city is not happening.
This
But you
culture.
yeah,
It's
but
here in little
it's, no,
pockets,
it's
yeah.
here. It's definitely here, but it's just a different. It's like a new town. Like it's not what you expect of the city. You would expect in Europe because Europe is so layered, right? Europe is so layered with history and art and people and influences. But here it's all new and everything is so fresh.
If you look at it, this country or city, it's only a couple like humans long has been here.
Yeah.
There's been hundreds of generations in Europe.
Yeah.
It's in your DNA. Both your parents are from Yugoslavia.
Yeah, but yeah.
And they met out there.
My dad was born in Zagreb, actually in Croatia, but he's Serbian. My mom also, they're together since they were, my mom was 15 when they met, and my dad was 22.
No hinge then.
No hinge, no hinge. No, it was like all friends. Met
Yeah.
on the beach in Croatia. Their friends introduced them. My mom had me when she was 19 and then studied after because my grandpa wouldn't allow her to marry. He was like, no, you can stay single and have a child, but you have to go to university. So my dad actually had to promise my grandpa that he's going to make my mom go to university, have her finish her degree if they want to have me, right? And marry her. So that was like their love story. Then they had my brother like 10 years later. My brother is back home still. He works as a flight controller, which is a really good job back home. He has his own businesses. He's actually doing really well. My whole family is there. I just moved with my husband here, that is now ex-husband. And we were supposed to be here only for 2 years. And I was like, okay, I'll finish this building and then I'll come back and continue the office. But then he wouldn't go. He was like, I don't want to go. I was like, that was the deal. I was like, you're my man.
Yeah.
I don't want to go. So I stayed. And
What was there a moment where you're like, this is the opportunity that I wanted, this
No.
design?
No,
Or just
yeah.
snowballed?
Yeah, I got into architecture because I was really creative and I didn't have balls to be an artist, or I didn't have an emotional maturity at that time to say, okay, like I'm probably an artist and I should probably do this because I am so sensitive.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I see the world in a different way, but also I'm very rational, right? Because the way I see everything, and I was like, so architecture seems like a good marry of these two things, which is
Yeah.
creativity and like rational brain that I have. And like, I'm also very systematic. Everything for me, it's like systems. I just try to put things together. I can't remember a song, like lyrics are impossible for me because that you have to learn literal.
Do you listen to the lyrics or
It's more about the music. It's more about the feelings. Yeah, it's more about the layers. Now, of course, words hit me too, but I just can't remember the lyrics.
it's like empathy, going through life that way?
For me, it's all feelings.
I have the creative part, fashion photography I've done for
Yeah,
10 years.
right.
I need that to stimulate that part of the brain. Do you have other things you're doing?
Yeah, I work out a lot.
You're working out. I
Yeah.
see you're in the gym a lot.
Yeah, lifting is where all the lessons life. That's where I have my peace, where nobody talks to me. I don't have to figure anything out except the next set. It's the moment, it's like pushing through the one last rep, also struggling sometimes with the motivation or not wanting to be there, pushing through, setting goals and being consistent. I think the gym was the most important for me in terms of being patient, seeing the progress really slow, and just not even thinking about progress, but just being there, doing it, and then look back, oh wow, the strength is up, the looks are better. But I think gym is really important for me mentally and just in terms of decoding the world.
Because you're thinking and then it's lateral. Have you ever, everybody has, but those moments where you're like, fuck this, I'm just going to
Yeah.
You want to
All the
quit.
time, all the time, all the time. Not all the time, but even years when I was like, I don't like this job anymore. It's not fulfilling. It's boring because I decided to raise my children. And my older one has serious health issues that I had to fight for a while. And then she's also autistic. So I'm like a big part of my creativity and energy went to making her be okay. I set her now on the path where she's okay. But there were years where I was actually focused on that. And that was my work. And my architecture was like, how do I make the most money for the least effort? How do I employ my skills where I'm also having free time, where I can manage my time? So what I was doing, we can go back to recession actually, how it happened.
Yeah.
As I was in a recession, it didn't start in 2007 and ended in a year. It ended like 3 or 4 years later where we recovered. I finished the building and I was without work. And my boss, Barton Myers, called all his people, other architects looking for a job for me before he let me go. When he let me go, he told me, I don't have work for you. You're finished with the building. I don't have any more work for you because things are still slow. But what I've done for you, I called this and these people, and this guy told me he has a job. They didn't have a job right away, which was Jersey partnership in Venice. That took another 4 or 5 months. What happened to me in these 4 or 5 months is that I basically started working from for other offices I met while I was in LA, like, other architects that were picking up a little bit, but didn't have money to hire somebody that is my expertise, but needed somebody. So what I would do, like I would work for 3 or 4 offices at that level. I would take a project, do the project, share my time between them. So for example, this guy has a house, this one has a little building or whatever. I would share my time. I would work for somebody for 40 hours, then for somebody for 20 hours, and I would charge hourly. My salary was way bigger than if I was working somewhere for somebody, but it was also working for them because they didn't have to pay somebody of my expertise for vacation or holidays or if they don't have work, right? So it was a win-win for everybody. And it was great for that era when everybody was shaking with job, like they were like having low margins, they needed efficient people, they couldn't pay people on a higher level, so they were trying to do it themselves or have younger people do it. I find that hole there through my connections. I worked on for a couple of people like that through recommendations because everybody had the same issue. They needed people but couldn't pay them. That's how I coasted through the recession, basically.
Subcontracting hourly.
Yeah, subcontracted hourly. I'm super reliable. You bring me the project, I draw everything because I spend on a construction site so much. You bring your schematic design, I turn it into construction documents, I do your details, pull your permit, and give you back the project, and you build it. That was my expertise, and people were paying me for it. That was my little niche of like being able to do independent job, like without oversight. And like basically no headache.
Customer service sounds like concierge service.
Yeah, it's home handled. Yeah, you like I don't call you like with questions. Like only if there is some drama, like really serious drama, right? There's no reason for you to be involved in a project. You already resolved the design. All you need is a permit, and you don't need construction documents to build a thing. So I'll just do it for you.
What's one common thing from when you started in the business to now? One common thing that you wish clients knew that they had. I wish you just understood
how much work goes into our projects, how much thinking, how much work we actually put into our projects and drawings, and how much knowledge we have to learn. There's daily like 10 stuff that I have to learn still.
everyday learning.
Every day. Every day is learning.
So you never know it all. You're continually
No, what are you talking about? No, I know less than when I started.
Yeah.
No, there is always something, especially as a small business owner, you have to do everything, right? Yesterday, like the email didn't work or was like bouncing or you fix that. Or now I need a social media strategy. Who's going to do that? Go chase people. I have to print some flyers because we have a panel. Who's going to make the flyers? It's quicker for me to do it than I have to call my graphic designer. Can you do this? Explain. I just do it. Like a lot of things, I just do them because it's quicker.
You care about your business and the clients.
Of course.
What do you think is the one thing that really sets you apart from other people that are just from here versus immigrating to the States?
Oh, I'm scrappy. I am scrappy. I'm going to find a solution. And that's because you come from the East European country that was under Turks for 500 years, where like our hobby is finding holes in authority and finding ways to resolve something. All we do is think out of the box.
The creativity comes from outside.
Yeah, and we get really excited. I get really excited when I have to resolve something, and it's really creative. For example, we were doing a house and we ordered windows from Europe. In order to install windows in California, you have to comply with Title 24, which prescribes what kind of glass you have to have in terms of efficiency for environment. So we decided to bring the windows from Europe. but their parameters for what they're looking for are totally different than US. I need to prove to the city that my windows are in compliance with Title 24 prescribes in my construction document. So we hired Pakistani physicists from Fiverr, I found them, and hired them to recalculate how the measurements from Europe transcribed to US for the measurements we need. I had the whole calculation from them, and that's where I walked into the city. This is what I have, this is what it is, and these are the windows I'm bringing, these are the calculations for every window, and they all comply with Title 24. Our windows were 150K from Europe, and they were priced here for $500,000. So that was like $350,000 saving. That's crappy.
And that was your project
In Pasadena.
Pasadena one.
Yeah, that was in Pasadena where we brought everything. That was thinking out of the box, bringing everything from Europe. And when we say bring everything from Europe, like tiles, bathroom fixtures, doors, floors, whole kitchens, wardrobes, 2 kitchens, one for ADU, one for the main house. So basically windows too, parts of a facade. I'm building the house around stuff that was already ordered. If I move a window a little bit, it's affecting my closet. If I move the closet, it's affecting my bathroom. I had to have all these measurements in my head exactly for now because I'm an architect and I want things to be all aligned and beautiful. I have no tolerances or very little. I'm chasing my tail through whole the construction, like trying because we were trying to save money. But I have to make sure that everything
Saving
fits.
money from having the best materials and then things go wrong. Explain the tolerance with how tall the windows were to the ceiling.
They're completely to the ceiling, right? They're like stuck. So I have a bunch of different windows, right? Like I have a slide or a regular window, and all these windows have different details. They all have to be at 8.6. I had a window book that showed every detail, like every window, jamb and sill, so I can have all my windows at the
This is
same.
Arden, right?
Yeah, that's Arden. Yeah, that's
So
the project.
And how long did this take to get from ground up completion?
It wasn't bad. We started in January 2023, and we were done in April 2024. 1 year and a couple of months. A year for design and permits. It could have been a little bit less, but we were dragging our feet a little bit.
Was these windows right here, right?
Yeah, those are windows that go into the wall. Those are sliders. That slider goes all the way into the wall, so your whole room looks like open and looks over the pool and the garden.
So I don't think people understand the complexity of having the amazing design, the textures, but it's about outsourcing all of these different materials and then putting them all together.
Yeah, it is. I can be creative and artistic, but every detail was taken care of.
This is marble, right?
Oh, yeah, it's a tile that looks like marble. It was a developer project, so we had to save some money. If you look at the windows next to it, the beam behind it, it all comes to one spot. Everything lines, and they're all different windows. I have a different slider on the other side. The floor, it's all flat from inside to the outside. There are no bumps there. So that's all drawn. I had to account for all that. That wasn't by accident. It's not like they bring windows there and put them there. No, somebody has to tell them how to do that, and it's usually me.
So you're on the site making sure.
Yeah, of course. And I resolve issues like, okay, the duct can't go this way. What are we going to do? Can I cut this? Sometimes you can't because you have shear walls. I always coordinate all my structure. I know all my beams in the buildings, all my columns, everything. So I know all my shear walls. I know where I can cut and where I can't cut. So I'm not an architect to just put structural under my sheets and give it to and you build it. No, I check everything. I'm checking everything. If something is in my way, I'm going to make my beam smaller because I need the drainage, for example, or I need that to be lower for my terrace because I need at least 6 inches for my terrace to work. So that's all checked by me. Also, all HVAC that we do, if it doesn't work for me, I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to take my engineer stuff and put the paper over it and I'll sketch over and tell him what to do because I know where the beams are. I know where I have a space. Yes, we are creative, but we are engineers. I am an engineer. Whatever we do, it's not by accident.
Having the team when you're building, the experience and how all of the different are interconnected.
I love my crews. I'm not an architect and I take pride for it. I say I'm blue collar in my heart, and then just being educated in an architect, like it's just an accident. So I like building and the atmosphere on the site, and I'm really good with GCs because they speak their language. How can we resolve this so it doesn't impact the design and it doesn't cost us? If I take a hit on a design, but I can resolve it. I'm still happy with it. I'd rather do that than have GC because he has to fix something, right? Sometimes he has to, but when you look at the whole timeline of the project, it's not really advisable, right? It's going to take us 2 weeks to fix something because they're already messed up. And I get them, but like, how does it impact everything else that happens around? So I'm not just looking at my position as an architect when I'm on a site. I want this design to be like this. This is what I draw. Things happen. People make mistakes.
Right.
You're dealing with humans, and humans are going to mistake because we are not robots. There's a miscommunication on the site. We are living in California. Like, nobody speaks. There are 3 languages on the web, usually Spanish. Sometimes people don't read the drawings. We have a lot of need for construction here. Not everybody are actually construction workers. Sometimes they used to be Uber worker drivers, or they work in the restaurant 2 days ago.
Demand with the fires now, with demand in construction coming up, and how is that going to be affected?
It's not happening yet because things are still being figured out, but it starts to pick up now, right? So everybody's like still waiting for something to happen, but when it happens, I don't know. Because we had problems before. We had problems with workforce before. We had problems with subs before in terms like you can't find people in the city. You get into bidding wars over people, and then you have to overpay. So I don't know how it's going to be now.
Bidding wars with paying contractors.
Yes. It happened to us on this project that basically we were supposed to get the guy to come and do the tiles. We had 5,000 square feet of tiles, right? That was supposed to be a 6-week job for them to tile all the bathrooms. We had 5,000 square feet. The day before he was supposed to come, he asked for 10K more. 1 day before. And we were like, no way, we're not giving you 10K more. And he walks away.
See,
He's supposed to start like tomorrow, and we have nobody to tile. And mind you, this was like a 5th guy we were dealing with because like for some reason, like it was really hard to find people to tile bathrooms. And he walks away because somebody did give him that 10K. Somebody was in a rush and was like, do it. Now we're the day before, there's nobody to do it. We found these guys. We visited the construction site before. We liked what they did, and we hit the owner up who did your tiles. They were free between jobs at that moment, like looking for the next one or something, or waiting for something to start. So we hired them, and they were actually pretty good price, and they did amazing job.
that was something like
out of nowhere. The night before, what happened with us on this side? For example, the guy that was doing the glass rail, he got money and walked away. He took the money. He installed the rails inside. You see the wine cellar, he did that, I think, and some of the rails inside, but no shower walls, no rails on the outside. We were supposed to have a rail outside, was supposed to be glass. So when you look at the picture before that we saw, that was supposed to be like a glass, but it was
planning budgeting for excess materials.
He took our budget.
Literally, you did not plan for someone to take the money out.
No, but it happened, right? All of a sudden he took, and that's at the end of the construction. We're like, you are burning money. It's like you just take a shovel and just throw money into money just flies away. And
fast.
And he took, I don't know, I think 40K or something. And
40K.
Yeah. So we had no budget for the glass anymore.
Somebody coming in, like you're very experienced developing for the family that has lost their home. Now we want to build, and we're like, where do we start? We have money coming from insurance, but some people don't even want to inquire how to talk to insurance. How do you start from zero? What's step 1? And what are people waiting for now?
There's a lot of waiting. A lot of people are still going through insurance and fighting the insurance. I'm just an architect. But I think it seems like people that did the route with public adjuster got best deals. They were not dealing with insurance on their own or with the insurance adjuster they hire, but did the public adjuster route. These guys are basically fighting for them. They also work for percentage. So the more money they get, the more money they're paid. They're motivated to get you the best possible deal. Of course, it depends. Like a lot of people are underinsured. I'm seeing some insurance payouts that are ridiculous. 1,500 square, 1,400 square house was paid like 400K as a value. What are you going to do with that? There's like different scenarios for everybody, like depending what kind of insurance was like. If, for example, State Farm, we have a client, she got a really good payout, and like her experience with State Farm was actually pretty good. She doesn't have a public adjuster. He's dealing on her own, but she's also very smart and savvy, and she's also mentally okay. I think that's really important.
The first thing is mentally.
But I think you can't do that. You're going to grieve, right? People went through trauma. They lost. And whenever we talk with people, they don't even talk about their kitchens or houses, but they talk about, oh, I lost the sweater, my cheerleading sweater. Or, oh, but what about my art? Or
Yeah.
my dad left me a bunch of archives. I want to make a movie about it because he wanted to like something like very important historically. And I'm like, I lost all my files. Like, why didn't I take the files out of my house? Like, why didn't I put them in the car? People are talking about sentimental stuff, not about the house. A lot of people still want to talk about that, not about the future. They're still grieving. So I think everybody needs to pull back a little bit and check their pulse, both us as professionals, but also like people that are in this. And I think that it has to go on their time when they're ready. Mentally ready is important. We have some clients that are mentally ready and they were like, okay, let's do this. We want to look at the future. They're working with insurance, they get insurance, they're pushing through. So they're very mentally strong. I think that's very important to get yourself somewhere where you're okay and you can take next step, which is like building the house. Most of these people didn't want to build the house. They never planned on building any houses.
It just happened. Catastrophe.
And now they're like,
Yeah.
okay, what do I do? They have to make a decision. Whenever you hear stories about building a house, it's a drama.
Right.
GCs and architects don't get along. City doesn't give permits. It was expensive and so on. That is all true. Things like that do happen, but also risk can be mitigated in a
Right.
proper relationship with the proper teams, with the proper procedures, with the proper GC. You don't have to have drama. How people deal with each other on the construction site. For me, I'm trying not to fight ever. I'm never rude. For me, it's patience. Let's see what happens. My first thing is, what is the solution for this? Who is going to resolve it? How are we going to resolve it? Once we resolve what we have to resolve, then we see if there is some finger pointing to be done. Usually finger pointing comes when there is money involved. But if there is no money involved, usually it just goes away. We resolved it. It's a construction site, so these issues come up all the time, right? Like nonstop.
And then solving it before it even gets to the client.
Yeah, that's what we do. That's what we do. Most of the time, I'm not going to call a client for the pipe burst. Just fix the pipe.
Just fix it.
Like, why do I have to explain the client? Just fix the framing. I think there's something you have to tell the client, like when it comes to decisions. But there's also some things that we do deal on, like on the construction side daily, and we don't tell the clients because there's really no need. It doesn't impact them anyway, and it's just additional stress. And they don't get that stress. My first construction was like, I didn't sleep. It's horrible.
You're taking it personal. You're taking it home with
Yes.
you. 'Cause I grew up in the business too, and that there's always problems. Sometimes
Always.
you don't even know how you're going to solve it,
Yeah, always.
and the answer will come.
Yeah, I
You
know.
just figure it out
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Yeah, that's what's exciting about this job because so, yeah,
all day long.
all day long.
And
That's where
a lot of people I can see difference between a problem coming up and they're going to just go and figure it out, or waiting.
nobody's going to say, you have to figure it out. Yeah. And also when things happen, we have to present it to the client. I never present the problem to a client where I'm like, okay, this is what happened. No, a problem is always presented to the client with solutions.
Right.
And with solutions, how it is impacting time, money, or design. Those are the three things that we care about. Is it impacting what we talked about and what's important to them? If not, if some detail they're not going to notice, we don't worry about it. For example, on this project, if you look at the pool, this pool was supposed to be closer to ADU, and they put it closer to the building because they wrongly look at the drawings. Although we talked about it, they had all the measurements, they put it wrongly. In 3 days, these guys had all the armature for the pool. I come and I was like, something's off, right? Something is off. They didn't pour the concrete yet. Something is off. So they dig the hole. They put all the armature there to pour the concrete. I was like, something's off with the pool. And I measured, it was like, you guys are 1 foot off. He's going to look at the drawings. And I was like, measure. He's, oh my God, we missed it. I'm like, what are we going to do now? To untangle all the rebar? It was already like there. It was ready to get, it was ready to, they're going to need, I think they would just have to redo everything. It's in the wrong spot. It does affect the design. And I'm like, we can do this, and this is going to take another 2 weeks. Or we can find another solution for this, which is I will have to change a little bit of a deck design. Does that affect me really? I talked to the client. She's like, I will notice this. Don't worry about it. If I don't worry about it, that's not your problem. So at the end, we just left the pool. And I redid some of the coping around and a little bit of deck so we don't waste 2 weeks. But I was in a full right to tell them, like, I don't care. Just remove it. Like we talked about, you have the drawings, you put it wrongly. That's your problem.
Just communicate, understand it,
Yeah.
and you move.
Well, the impact would be like 2 options: move the pool or leave the pool. If you move the pool, that's 2 weeks. I'm in full right to move the pool where it's supposed to be. If you don't move the pool, I can come up with a solution in 2 hours around the coping. They're going to pour the pool and we are not losing anything. And the client is okay with design.
You just got the money from insurance, right?
Yeah.
After everything's done. What is the number one mistake homeowners are making right now in your sector?
I think they need to, we see insurance payouts really low.
Insurance is-
It's too low. So a lot of people are now looking into getting SBA loans because they can get an SBA loan up to $500,000 for, I think, 2%. So it's a really good loan. Even with that, like, people don't understand the budget. They don't understand basically what is actually an overall cost of their house. Their house is not just per square foot, like money they're going to use to build a house. It's also site work. It's also our job, like my fee of everybody in the team, which is from surveyor that has to go and find your property lines because now there are no fences and we still need property lines, right? From surveyor to engineer, like structural engineer and architect to do your construction documents, to solar consultants. They're still requiring solar for new construction in city of LA. For example, MAP also, like mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. All these people cost money.
And
There's a lot of money.
like, where to start?
You start by getting an
Architect.
or GC, somebody who is in the business and somebody who's going to tell you exactly what you need, right? And what are the options out there for you to build. Because for fire victims, they're allowing 110% build up, which means you can build whatever you had there before in terms of footprint and height. You have to keep your building where it was. You can slide it a little bit up and down. I think 20% on the side, depending. We have 3 locations. We have Malibu, which is governed by City of Malibu. Then we have Pacific Palisades, which is governed by City of LA. And then we have Altadena, which is covered by the county. Every one of them has different practices. So that's another layer of chaos.
You're in all areas. How are they?
They're all separate.
Are there common problems you're finding?
We're looking into, but just to go back, so basically you want to get somebody who is a professional. Either get your GC to help you, guide you, and tell you, recommend you. What usually going to happen, like you're going to get the GC, he's going to recommend an architect. One or the other. He's going to tell you and give you the best strategy, what you're going to build. Are you going to go to 110? Maybe you want to make a smaller house because you don't have money. That's an option too. Or maybe you have money from somewhere and now this is your opportunity to build something more. And then they're going to tell you how to build that more, what the procedure is going to be, what's the cost. Going to bring you other team members that you need, find you other team members, and then design with you. Very early on, we bring GCs on just because of the cost.
You have your own GC.
Yeah, we have GCs we trust. We also have GCs that we are now, like, as we are getting the feedback from the field, we are coming up with practices where I'm not starting the design before I get actually specs. Like, usually I would, this is such a pretty house, and let's do something like this, and you want 4 bedrooms, and blah, and I design, it's all pretty, we do renderings, and then we go for bidding, and the price comes to what they were thinking, plus 30% extra, because it's always 30% extra, right? Because people want nicer things. And then we build it and spend more money. Now we don't have that. So basically, I'm going into the project, like Altadena, for example, that don't have the payouts, where I'm actually coming with a list from GC. Can I have sliders? No, you can't have sliders because there's no budget like for that. Can I have metal roof? No, you can't have a metal roof. So I'm getting a puzzle of stuff that I can use in my design. So I'm trying to make pretty houses with that. And of course, as we're going to have more and more clients, we will find out maybe cheaper stuff or deals, so we will be able to design. We're all learning now in the profession how to handle the situation because there's different practices for each location.
It's new stuff. When you're in the field, you're learning, you're discovering new things. When you have a fixed budget, how do you figure that out? When you're going in new territory that can require new labor, new XYZ?
But we don't know. We don't know that. We are basically what we're doing now. We are dealing with what we know now. And I know now if I want to have stucco, if I want shingles, if I want to have this and that, like windows, I know how much it's going to cost per square foot. And we know we're going to have, I don't know, Home Depot cabinets or IKEA cabinets and so on. So we know the price per square foot, but I don't know what the price per square foot is going to be in 8 months or 9 months or 10. We don't know. Nobody knows. So we are dealing with what we have now and planning for the future with what we have now, because that's the entry data we have. It's challenging. It's challenging from the position of budgets, insurance budgets, or board money. People never planned on doing this. They're traumatized. As you see, like in real estate, right? You see how many lots are for sales in Palisades now. I think 250. They're thinking it's going to be about 1,000. So Probably like that means like 20% of the people in Palisades are going to leave and somebody's going to buy their lot. In Altadena, the sales are even bigger. I think more people bought lots there. There's going to be a change in who builds and who lives there. These are all real-time changes that we don't know what's going to happen. Right? We are just trying to adjust as professionals. Okay, let's figure out how we can deal with that. I get GC right away. He gives me an input, like what I can do with that money. I design. I go back to him after schematic design to check what I've done, to give me a price. And then after schematic design, when my design is done, I go into construction documents because then I can hold my budget. I can stick to whatever he told me they can pay.
What success are you seeing right now? I know there's a lot of turmoil and trauma, but what success stories are you starting to see emerging out of this?
We have a friend. She's in Pacific Palisades. She redid her house 3 years ago. She did everything right, all the practices. She had metal studs, steel structure instead of wood structure. She had a 3-layered stucco, flat roof, no vents for ambers, fire-rated windows. Her house still burnt. She fixed the ground floor and got ready to add the second floor because coastal commission takes 2 years to approve. She got approval for the second floor a week before the fire. So now she has a second floor, but she doesn't have a first one. She has to draw the whole house, the beginning, and go and file for the permit so it fits with the second floor. So that's what she's doing. What her success was that she was able to recycle 75% of her structure, and her steel fabricator is going to use all these steel studs and recycle. So she will be able to get a lower price, basically because she's recycling her material. And because she's a very experienced builder, this is her 14th house she's flipping, or like she lives in,
Yeah.
or she flipped a bunch of houses. That's not her job. But she's going to be an owner builder, so she's going to save a bunch of money of not paying GCs. She's an experienced person. So that's success. And mentally, she's amazing. It took her a while to recover, like about a month. But then she was like, okay, I'm doing this. She has a good price. And she's in the process. I think she should start building any moment. So we've seen that. I talked to a friend last night. He was doing an addition for the house in Altadena, and he pulled the permit for the addition just as the fire started. There was a house, he got approved for the addition, and he was supposed to do the addition. The fire burned the whole house. So what he did, he took the drawings for the addition and resubmitted as a new house. He already had the rest of the house. Basically, he had a main house and he did an addition to the main house. So in the original drawings, he had approved addition. He had the permit issued for the addition, but then the whole house burned. So he took the whole set with approved addition and got it permitted as a house now, as a fire rebuild. And now they're starting the construction. They started the construction like last week. So he's already there.
People that are inexperienced in the field need a team, they need support.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk about
Yeah.
LA permitting. What's the real story of how permitting is looking?
Don't know yet. I think everybody's talking about LA permitting. It does take a while, but I must admit they're pretty adjustable. My experience with them might take time, but they're doing a good job. For example, when pandemics happened, I had a bunch of projects in a plan check. They were constantly improving their process where we don't have to touch each other. Things did take longer, but we were all locked in houses. But they were able to figure out real-time process to work with it. So I do believe in them that they're going to figure this out.
Yeah.
It might take a little bit time, but I do believe like that our plan check is probably going to get lighter. I'm also working with the city now because I wrote a guide. There's a fire guide because I wrote all this question you're asking me, how people, what they should do and all that. I'm constantly asking. So I decided to put all that knowledge in the guide and we are giving them away to people. Yeah, it's
And the guide is beautiful. You get a lot of the same questions.
What do I do? Who are the people? How do I decide what to build? Where do I go?
I love this. And this is why I wanted to showcase. There's so much confusion. Where do I go?
And we were trying to make an overall guide that gives you like a process, step by step. Chapter number 5, find your records. You have to prove that your house was actually legal. So if you had 1,500 square feet, but your assessor says 1,200, your 300 are probably illegal, right? And you have to find the proof for them or you're losing them. So first is get the pictures, get the drawings, get everything you can. Second is like zoning code review. If you're in Pacific Palisades, if you're in Coastal Commission, don't even bother. If you don't want to get stuck for next 5 years. For example, if you are in Altadena and your setbacks are not compliant or your house is bigger than it should have been, do your house. So you need an architect, right? We're actually, I'll get there later. Then you hire your architect, find your person, you interview people, you get recommendations, you go online.
How many architects or GC should people interview, and
That's
how
a
do
good
you
question.
interview?
That's a good question. I had a client that we actually lost. She interviewed 50. I think that's totally, I think that is after, if you interview 50 people, you don't have a criteria.
No, you
Do you-
just random.
You're just randomly calling, and the only criteria you have is price.
Yep.
If you're building like for, which means you want to build a house exactly as your house was, no changes on it, I would go hire a designer. You don't have to have an architect to do your drawings. You can have a designer. Designers are people that are not licensed. They can't call themselves architects. It's actually against the law. In order to be called an architect in California, you have to have a certain education. You have to go through licensing process, which is 8 exams, and you also have to have a working practice. So you go to school, you work for 5 years. Somebody is overseeing your hours, writing off your hours, and then you do 8 exams and you get licensed. Right?
Not anybody can just be an architect.
No, but anyone can be a designer. So
Then your level of architect and the awards you're winning, like you have built something.
yeah, that's
extraordinary.
good. But let's talk about practical
Yeah.
stuff. What is the architect and what is a non-architect? Because non-architect or designer can also do your house, and there's some really good ones there, right? The difference is, of course, possible skill. Architects are licensed; they don't know what they're doing. I'm just presenting things like trying apples to apples, which like a designer doesn't have a license. They don't even have to have a professional insurance. I have a professional insurance that carries me for $2 million. I'm also responsible with my profession to uphold to a certain standards, right? When it comes to code, building standards, to contracts, and so on. So we are like a different level, right? But again, nothing against designers. If you're drawing your house, like if you want to build your house exactly as it was, probably it's smart to get designer because that is very simple and you're going to save a lot of money there. But if you want something custom, if you want to use the opportunity, because also what we are doing with a lot of our clients, we are actually doing which means we are doing the same square footage and same height, but we are redesigning the house totally. If you have a house that is 60 years old, that house is not going to be up to standards today.
It's not going to be up to code.
It's not going to be, not only just code, but like your floor plan is your rooms, how your house flows is not going to be what the lifestyle is today. So what we're doing with our clients, like we're designing house completely, but we are keeping the footprint and we are keeping the height. So designer can do them and the designers are doing it. But again, like you probably want an architect, but I'm an architect,
Right.
so I'm like selling my services.
What kind of projects are you taking on? Is there stuff you don't want to do, or do you have a certain niche right now?
For now, we are taking because also we are not taking when somebody comes and say, okay, I have a house and I want exactly the same house. I'm probably not the person for you. I don't think I'm too expensive for you. I also have an expertise that you don't need. So I think you're probably better off going somewhere else where somebody's going to produce you these drawings for really cheap money. And you can maybe build it on your own or have a GC depending on your skills, right? So I'm probably not your person, right? But we are taking people that want to have a good architecture, that are looking into this, okay, this is what happened and it did happen, but I want to have a better house. I want to have my either forever house and they're really inspired by having a new, better place, or they're understanding like this is what happened and this is my second house or third and I'm just going to do it really well so I have really good investment or I can sell it later, maybe that's going to be my second house and so on. We have different clients, right? Whenever there's a design involved and any improvements when it comes to floor plans or looks, we are your people. It's challenging to work with a low budget. As architects, we should be able to like make something really beautiful without spending a ton of money.
So what's the minimum budget that is realistic, say for Altadena? What do you need to work with?
What we are looking into, the lowest I've seen is like 500 per square foot. Some people are talking about if one GC takes the whole block and has 15 houses altogether, they might be able to get it like for 400 or 375 per square foot, but only if more people are involved, which I don't think it's realistic. You're never going to get 50 houses to do the house at the same time because they're not just going to move at the same level and they're not going to move the same with the finances. I think people should try and see what happens. But I think what we're looking into lowest like is 500, 600 per square foot in Altadena.
What's realistic?
In Pacific Palisades, in Palisades, we're talking more because of a hillside and the value of the properties are really high. So people did have better looking houses. So people do want to have more custom design. They want to have more, and that's more like 1,000 probably per square foot.
1,000.
And especially we are in a hillside, so God knows, depending on your foundation. retaining walls that you need and so on, somewhere on the bluff, and like they had no retaining walls. I've seen that too. I don't even know how that house didn't go down the hill before.
What should people know about the soil and how the fires and toxins, batteries, what are you seeing?
I've seen like the site we were working on, it's unrecognizable. I was like, where is your flat pad? You had a pad there, you were sitting. It was like, what happened? Like, where is it? The soils don't look like they used to, the terrain. But soils, I think if you're in a hillside, you will have to do soils report again. If you didn't have one, that's for sure, because we still have to comply with the code. You're doing like for having the same footprint. If your house was 50 years old, your foundations are not going to be compliant with what we have now. That means you have to do new foundations. For new foundation, you have to do soils reports. Like for soils reports, you have to hire people. That's additional cost. But it's necessary because the codes for hillsides are so strict compared to 20, 10, 15, 30 years ago.
It sounds like sooner the better. If you don't know, start. Get a firm, hire an architect.
I would say sooner rather than later, just because you will have a choice of architects now that you won't have in probably 6 months. We're all going to be busy. You're going to get a better price now for both architects and GCs. Also, your plan check is probably going to be easier because when something rolls out, for example, when we had the ADU ordinance roll out, first ADU I did was like maybe 2 weeks after the ordinance came out, and I got the approval for ADU over the counter, right? I did the ADU in the same street probably 2 months later. It took me 6 weeks to approve it because they were catching up with the code. The plan checkers were catching up with the code with the issues inside. Like my water is shedding from my neighbor. Like, why did you allow that? And now they're catching with stuff and they're strengthening the review and they're coming up with new rules. So I think that's what's going to happen here, right? If you go
But
now,
as time goes, the more regulations
Yes.
and the longer it's going to take.
yes, because as time goes on, there will be more and more issues because every location is a different beast, right? So once you get 3 or 4 that are having similar issues, you will come up with a solution that should be applied to all of this. But that has to happen in real time. Basically, what happens is building and safety or people that work there sit down and say, these are the issues we had. This is what we've done. What is our general view on this? How do we approve this? First 3 houses are probably going to go, maybe this, maybe that. But after that, everybody's going to get on the same path.
Common issues will start to come
Yeah,
up.
and then that's going to prolong your reviews because they're going to look for common issues to apply. As we are in real time, these are changing, so we have to catch up. So whoever comes sooner, I think is going to get the better deal, both in plan check, architect's fees, like GC fees, just because they're first and there is not that much competition.
What do you see for the future of these communities? How it's going to look? If you have your land still, hold it or just sell it or rebuild on it.
That's a really intimate question. I think it depends on where people are, like in life. If you're like, 70s or 80s, rebuilding a house, I've met people that want to do it too. Kudos to them. For example, we were talking to a guy that had small children and he bought the Palisades house. He wanted his kids to grow up in Pacific Palisades, drive the bike, have this beautiful ocean breezy childhood. My kids are 2 and 3. Are going to be 13 and 14 when this becomes a neighborhood again. He sold. He's not going to do that. I'm just going to sell my lot and go away. Every story is different and everybody has to make their own decisions if you're going to sell now. Because the prices were somewhere else probably better than me. Prices in December, the prices in February are like what, they're 20 or 30% more.
Inventory continues to build.
And we're rolling down the hill with that. I've talked to some people, they're expecting 1,000 lots to hit the market in Pacific Palisades and probably to bottom somewhere in the summer. But I don't think it's going to bottom in summer. I think it's going to bottom maybe in a year. It's going to continue. And Altadena is similar. I think the prices are there more, they're $500,000. I think those prices are going to be more realistic and going to stay there probably. I think policies are not going to look like they used to. I think there is a lot of developer money coming there. I heard stories that some developer already bought like 50 lots. There's Tom Jones coming that they have 4 houses and they're offering really good deals for rebuild. Are going to have repeated like these 4 types of
I
houses.
don't know how it's going to look.
We don't know how it's going to, yeah.
Like, what's one message that you'd want to get across to all of the homeowners
To get
informed?
informed, get really informed. not just find my manual, like read my manual, but use also my manual as a reference to do more research, to ask more questions. Even if you hire somebody as a consultant, it's a huge investment. You want somebody to maybe give you a feasibility study and tell you, okay, this is what you can build, this is what it's going to cost, this is the permitting process, this is how much it's going to last, this is where you're going to move in. Even if that is something, you can make a decision what you're going to do.
Yeah, the more information you get, you empower yourself.
Yes,
And then
exactly.
you get more confident.
Yeah, you meet people that you might want to work with or might help you out, or you might also decide this is not for me.
You have to get the information and get in there.
Yeah.
I had a question on the tariffs and
Yeah.
materials and outsourcing. What is that looking like
Well,
right
who
now?
knows? I don't know if tariffs are going to be like, do we have tariffs? I don't know. Now tariffs like what, 140, now they're 30, they're 30, like 20. Who knows? If it's my guess, I think he's going to figure out the tariffs are not really working for his benefits, so they're going to disappear slowly. I don't think tariffs are going to affect prices too much. But what I know is if construction boom starts, there's going to be a lack of supply for materials. There is going to be a lack of supply for workforce. There's going to be a lack of supply for talent, both architects and because we had enough job like before this happened, right? We were in a little bit slowed down last year, but there was enough job for people in the city, right? And now it's like we lost 15,000 houses or something, 12,000 houses.
And it's not the tariff. It's so volatile.
No.
People don't know that prices don't just automatically change like that.
They're going to change after 2 or 3 months.
The decisions are up and down.
And that's going to affect what's happening when it comes to prices. Will you have workforce? Because there was construction, like a lot of GCs burned their licenses and then work on somebody else's license. There was a lot of fraud before. I think it starts earlier. You'll be able to lock GCs that are really quality GCs. When they don't have, they're not going to mess with this and they're going to be better. It's a hard decision. Usually what happens is you want to build a house, you spend 2 or 3 years going on Pinterest, talking to your friends, talking to GCs, getting informed. And all of a sudden you don't have a house. You have to do that right away because you don't have much time, right? Because your insurance is not going to pay for your rent forever, right? So you have to make decisions. It's overwhelming from an insurance point of view, from who's going to do that. People are freaked out by the whole process. People are freaked out by the budget. What if I start building and then it becomes more and more expensive? Where am I going to find that money? What am I going to do? There are all these questions, and it's a very intimate question for every family. Where they are in their lives, where they're in their careers, do they like the area they were living, or they can see themselves somewhere else? How much equity did they have in the house? How big is their mortgage? How big are their children? How old they are? It's a very intimate question for everyone.
It's
So,
person to person.
and it's like you can't tell people go build, right? It's not for yeah. It's tragedy happened, and not everybody wants to build. Maybe they should go and live somewhere else.
My heart goes out to everybody.
It's shocking.
It's shocking. Yeah,
It's
you know,
shocking.
I try to help as much as I can and to families. There's tons of charities and things to help out with and service. But it was nice to see LA coming together.
LA is definitely coming together. Then that's why we want to add with the guide, right? There's a lot happening. We're becoming creative. We can't their incentives were like, oh, get the plans, and some artist is going to do it for free. You can't change the design of the house, but you build it. It costs 25,000 or nothing. There are different stuff that are happening. Caruso is trying to push AI plan check review on City of LA, which I think is a very good idea. It might take some time. We're going to go through growing pains and adding this to our regular plan check. And now you're adding another layer that needs to be actually taught and learned and figured out on the top of our growing pains. But I think the outcome actually can be really good. So I'm all for it.
Where can people follow you? What's the best way to get in touch with you and your team?
Best is on our website and through our email address. So website, it's archicraft.co. Yeah.
There we go. Make sure to follow both Marija and Archicraft. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes.
Okay. Amazing. So many projects.
Yeah, we have so many projects because we do high-end residential here in California, but in Europe, where our sister office is and where everything started, we do a lot of food and beverage. So we are specialized in building brands. So if you want to build, like, for example, you want to build like a sandwich store or a coffee store, but you have a vision of making it to a chain, that's what we do. That project got a lot of awards, like the best project in LA in 2022. That's a restaurant that is 120 years old. by the rail station. They hired us to redo the whole restaurant. It serves 400 meals a day.
Wow.
It's kind of fancy but relaxed, and it serves like old Czech cuisine. It have always been a restaurant. It had been a restaurant for 120 years. These columns, that's all old. We had to work a lot
with the existing.
with existing, and because it's a protected monument, we had to work with the Department for Preservation of Historic Monuments. Add a bunch of elements, what is approved, what's not, because not everything was allowed in terms of materials or look, and also how you treat some old elements had to be negotiated.
So residential, commercial, restaurants, any plans, boutique hotels?
We're working on something now with the company that does small boutique places up to 10 rooms, and they use them as resorts or wedding venues. So we are looking into that a little bit. We do technology, we do offices too. That's where we started, most of us, basically in Europe. Family home design. We do, if you go down to, that's Arden, that's been built. Those are renderings. These are some ADUs we are working on, some other buildings or houses. Those are all working drawings. This was the cottages we built, another house. It's mostly modern language, but that's what we like.
Tell me about your Costa Rica project.
Oh, okay. You can go to Archicraft website. If you go to commercial, it should be there. I think it's under commercial.
Let's see.
Or is it there? Maybe it's residential. Try other. I don't know where I put it.
Should be here.
Where is it? Oh my God.
So many projects.
Wait, maybe it's under residential somehow.
I think it's over here.
I saw it there. That's my personal website.
There we
I
go.
love Costa Rica. That's where I want to retire. These guys bought a bunch of lots in Costa Rica, and they want to make like a place where you can have nomads, like in digital nomads, spend some time, which is like huts, for example. And then on the top, they had probably 8 or 7 suites, and there's a multifunctional room. And that was more for retreats. If you want to have a yoga retreat or whatever retreat you want to have, that was that area. Yeah, that was like rooms on the left, then the restaurant and the back, another rooms on the right, and around this little pool area. We did project for them. We also worked with, because that area is protected and has a lot of rain and has a lot of water patterns.
Right.
We worked with a company that actually helped kind of or not organize, but protect that watershed and use it in a location. Those guys have 7 locations, and they're
more creative.
They're entrepreneurs. They get an idea, get excited about it, and start doing something. Then something else catches their eye that's probably going to make them more money, and they leave this and come back to it. So we did the project for them. It was actually a competition. They asked 4 companies to do this, to give them the vision of the location. It was a paid competition, and they chose our design. They did not work on it yet. They just built one house, like where they can stay when they're at the location. So we designed that, but it was like
a lot of creativity. Very exciting. What are you the most excited about right now that you're looking forward to?
I'm excited as an architect to be part of like rebuilding the city, because how often you have that as an architect, right? Like for example, in Prague, we're recycling old buildings and building something new or adding to old things, which is again really fun, right? Because it makes you like think out of the box. But what we have now here is we will be able to influence how the city looks like in the future. The future of LA, 2 locations that are really big, people lost houses. There's going to be not just talk about how to build a house, but also how to build the city, right? Because we are so spread out. The city is huge. We are fixing potholes. We can't have nice things because we are so spread out. There's going to be a lot of talks about intensification, getting more square foot per lot, not in terms of mansions, but more about units. Affordable housing, because we had crises already. Like
already existing crisis.
Yeah, we had existing crisis. I think we are missing like 500,000 of units in California.
600,000.
Yeah, we are missing. So now we are missing more. It's really exciting in a sense that there is going to be a lot of work, and it's going to be a different work. And it's exciting to find new solutions. People are very open to collaborations and ideas. For example, I sent a guy to the mayor's office. This is the information I think people should have.
You can download it on the website.
Yeah, you can download.
I'll put it in the description.
Yeah, you can send us an email. If you go to our website, you will see, if you go on our website, the little pop-up comes. If you like reload that, it should, like the little fire pop-up should come up. Yeah, click
Cool.
that.
Click.
Yeah, click there. It's going to take you to our Rebuilding After California, how we can help. You can get your guide by sending us an email.
rebuild
Rebuild
LA
at
at
archicraft.co.
archicraft.co.
Yeah.
And I saw too, free phone consultation too.
If you send us an email, if you want a guide, we'll send you a guide. We can have a free consultation with us. We're going to have 30-minute call with you, see what your problem is, what questions you have. If you read our guide, we'll answer questions from our guide. If you didn't read our guide, we are going to steer you what you can do. What is happening now with the guide? We send the guide to the mayor's office, and the mayor's office actually asked us to do a guide just for Pacific Palisades, just for basically city of LA. We are making a second version of this guide and working with the Department of Planning and Department of Building and Safety. They're basically double checking our information, so we make sure that we are not giving wrong information and adding to the whole confusion. So they're checking the wordage. There's going to be a summary of Executive Order number 1 that came out practically summarized. We are going to have tables that tells you, okay, if you're in a coastal commission, this is what you get. If you're doing a rebuild under 110, you can get this and this. It's going to last that long. So you're going to get a cheat sheet and the guide helping you make a decision. And of course, the rest of the guide stays, right? So that's what we're doing now. The guide is going to be supported by City of LA. It's going to have collaborators from the city. We're trying to give the best possible product and to share the knowledge. Everybody, it's going to be free for everybody, of course.
When is that one coming?
Probably in 2 or 3 weeks. We're in the process. We send them information, they review, then we review, and so on. Every time the document changes hands, it takes a week, right? And then I have to put everything together, all the comments, and work with the graphic person so you can actually get something as pretty as this. This also takes time to get something that is organized, the community.
Very thought out.
Very thought out. Yeah.
Guide. I've researched through it.
Thank you.
People need to read this.
Yeah, I think so too.
Get informed. The
And it's
more
also
informed, the better. And have a team.
It's something you can refer to because it's a couple of pages for a section. It's supposed to help you from beginning to an end, like not just now to make a decision what you're going to do, but also later when you start building and so on. It also gives you good resources. It's not too complicated. I try to keep it really simple so it's not overwhelming because there's so much overwhelming information out there.
There's conflicting information.
Conflicting.
With the trust.
But we are going to have conflicting information. That's our profession. Sometimes it's like between 2 codes. I'm like, I'm reading the code and I'm like, wait. And then it sends me back and then I'll read that. And I'm like, now I'm in a circle and I'm like, what am I supposed to do? So that's normal. That's our perception.
And that's where it comes from, the experience and having the discernment. Today we look at your background in Serbia and having that immigrant work ethic. And then LA went through some terrible times and we're still struggling through it. Well, you're here to help. We're here to be informing and giving the right information.
Yeah.
If you can just tell anybody struggling right now in this process, what's some hope that you can give people?
This too shall pass. I've been through like bombing, inflation, dictators. I immigrated twice. I learned the language in 3 months because I didn't want to pay for my school and I lied that I speak the language because I was so desperate to leave the country. These are all bad things that are behind me and I can look on them only as something very traumatic, but it made me who I am now. Made me so resilient. So I'm trying to say to people, this too shall pass. Whatever decision they make, this will be behind them at one point. If they decide to build or sell at some point, whatever happened now, it's going to be behind them and we are going to rebuild. We are species that are so resilient and so adaptable and so flexible that we are amazing. This too shall pass and this will get resolved and they will get their houses back one way or another. Even the economic impact is not going to be that horrible. Maybe now it looks really bad. But in 5 or 6 years, if they're building, when they see their equity, their house is getting in value, and they're actually getting a really good investment, this is going to be something they look back with not such bad and traumatic eyes. So I think long term, if you look at long term, like it's going to be fine. Short term, sure, it's stressful. And it's going to be stressful for next week.
When you're in this,
once
you're out,
it's
don't quit.
Yeah, don't quit.
And get a good team. Thanks for your time, Marija. This was awesome.
You're welcome.
Another way to connect with you, Instagram. Is there?
Yeah, if you go on our website, everything is there. If you go to the corner over there, Instagram on the side, we have some new stuff coming.
The colors. Yeah.
We have some new. That's actually the first project. That's a long-term customer. That's a Bombay Express. It's an Indian restaurant. We've been working with that brand for 15 years. This is like a 5th restaurant, and we're constantly improving the concept. And it's like an Indian train station, but it's a fast food restaurant in a shopping mall. Then, yeah, that's a new restaurant. We're doing a lot on the airport in Prague. That's our office, actually.
This one right here?
Yeah, that's our office. Yeah, that's our office in Prague. We just got a new phone booth.
Those are not cheap. Very cool.
Yeah, we're still working on it. There's more what we are doing. A lot of rebuild stuff is happening. We are part of a lot of panels. We just got published a lot.
You were just on the TV?
Yeah, I was on TV. That's a really ugly picture of me. Yeah, I was on TV and NBC4, like talking about fire rebuilds. They asked us to come and talk about what's going on in Pacific Palisades. I was also on the Real Deal blog.
saw that.
I'm on a bunch of panels. All the time people call me because I'm an expert, because of the guide. After the fires, my first client came like a week after, right? Like the first project we got after the fire, like, I think it was 10 days after the fire. And it's the family that already has my house and they want the same house. They want the same feel.
thing.
They didn't interview anyone else. They asked me, can we do it? Ask for the price. I did, and they sign up. That was the first client. Then because that was the first client and it was early on, I started looking into what's going on, what's happening, and then start talking to more and more people because it's an important issue and everybody's upset or excited about it. So that's how I started getting information and put the guide together. It's always the same questions and I'm not going to answer, but I'm still answering them. That's why I put the guide. It's also good. It's getting our name out there also. It's also giving back to community.
It's just giving service
Yeah,
at
giving
the end of the
service,
day.
yeah. I think-
So we all have to
yeah,
chip in.
yeah.
We're just here to help provide service.
People, we all
Like,
have to chip in.
We're here for each other at the end of
Yeah.
the day. If anybody has been affected by the fires, please download this guide, share it, because it's just getting the information and getting informed.
Yeah.
Again, Marija, thank you.
Thank you, Brandon.
Yes, of course.
That's a wrap.